To give birth to a calm and gentle baby, the woman spent every day not drinking and socializing, but blasting rock music while speeding around in her car. Even the day before her due date, she brought her subordinates racing around to fight for clients. After finally settling the contract, the amniotic fluid in her belly suddenly broke the next second. She calmly said she would take a moment to go give birth, and told her subordinates to follow up with the contract. After saying that, she drove herself to the hospital. Her husband rushed over when he got the news, and she even comforted him not to panic. But the next second, she herself almost passed out on the spot. A nurse gave her an enema ahead of time to avoid an embarrassing scene. The nurse told her to hold it for 10 minutes, but she couldn't last even 1 minute and ran straight to the bathroom. The loud noise from inside startled her husband, but at this point, a woman really can't care about dignity anymore. She nervously asked the nurse whether, if she didn't hold it for 10 minutes, everything might come out together when she pushed. The nurse said it was very possible, so she begged the nurse for another injection. When the real contractions came, she finally understood what every second feels like a year meant. All comfort is useless at that point. She asked for an epidural. No pain, no pain, no pain. But getting an epidural requires a doctor's evaluation, and in the end, she didn't get one and was wheeled straight into the delivery room. As a 40-year-old high-risk mother, she feared she might not make it. Sure enough, she fainted from exhaustion, and the next second found herself facing the Grim Reaper. Recalling her hard-working life, all the dirty and exhausting jobs she had done, it had taken everything to become the youngest senior executive in the company. She wasn't willing to die just like that, so she grabbed the scythe and tried to pull herself back. Even the Reaper couldn't stop her. After all that struggle, she really did wake up again. With one final push, the baby was safely born. This moment should have been the happiest for any mother, but when she saw the wrinkled newborn, she felt it looked nothing like what she had imagined. When she woke up again later, her husband's whole family was busy fussing over the baby, not caring that she was parched and desperate for water. Only her own mother cared about whether her daughter had gone through danger. She warmed some water and carefully wiped her daughter's cracked lips. Seeing her mother's love, the always strong, she finally shed tears. To help her produce milk, her mother made seaweed soup for every meal, and she wasn't even allowed to add any seasoning. Her husband considerately brought 2 iced Americanos, but her mother scolded him and threw them away, saying she couldn't drink anything cold during postpartum recovery. The iced coffee was gone, but the worst part was that every time she sat down, the pain below made her too scared to go to the bathroom. The doctor warned that if she didn't urinate normally by 6 o'clock, they would have to insert a catheter. Hearing someone screaming in pain nearby, she hurried outside. She went downstairs to a cafe to buy herself an iced Americano to lift her spirits. Just as she stepped into the elevator and took one sip, the woman next to her suddenly had a gush of water break. Trying to avoid the fluid, she accidentally spilled the coffee all over herself. Right then, the elevator doors opened, and she bumped into her coworkers who had come to visit. Seeing the fluid on the floor, the smell in the air, and her soaked clothes, their image of her as a strong career woman completely collapsed. She tried to explain, but her husband rushed in and hugged her. After struggling through all this until discharge, she finally arrived at a luxury postpartum care center, not knowing the real nightmare was just beginning. After she finished her postpartum confinement, she had to drink kelp soup at every meal to increase her milk supply. She did daily lactation exercises, and even the tea she drank had to help with milk production. But despite all this, her milk supply was still pitifully low, making her feel like a cow being relentlessly squeezed dry. Yet to fit into life at the rehab center, she had no choice but to curry favor with the Milk Queen, because the order of things here was completely different from the outside world. No one cared about a mother's resume or education. IT was like boarding a train. The carriage class was determined by how much a mother had sacrificed for her child. For example, having several children or breastfeeding exclusively for 2 years without supplementing earned you a first-class seat. The Milk Queen had delivered twins naturally for her first pregnancy and then breastfed exclusively for 2 years, meaning she produced twice as much milk as the others, making her the undisputed Milk Queen. Even mothers who were university professors bowed to her, hoping to escape the lowest carriage. Right then, a new woman arrived and broke the unspoken rule of exclusive breastfeeding. She was stylishly dressed, completely different from the other moms. The director told her to prepare to breastfeed her baby, but she refused. "I'm strictly formula feeding," she said. The director explained that breast milk was best for the baby, but she replied, "And what benefit does that give me?" Her words shocked everyone. The next morning at breakfast, all the other moms ate their bland postpartum meals. while the woman walked out barefoot and added her own chili powder to her soup, stunning everyone present. Only one of the women looked at her with admiration. And that wasn't all. The director later found 2 empty beer cans in the woman's room. She admitted she drank them, saying, "I'm not breastfeeding anyway. What's the problem?" This completely shattered the other mother's worldview. At feeding time, the other woman still struggled to adapt. She glanced back at the woman, whose baby happily drank formula, while she herself kept breastfeeding to the point of nosebleeds. Seeing the other woman looking her way, she told her to come talk after she finished feeding. Entering her room, the other woman jumped at the sound of something rattling. She had taken out a rope and cornered her. It turned out she was just measuring her chest. Then she handed her a bra. She was actually a lingerie designer and had noticed the woman was wearing the wrong size. Once she put it on, she felt much more comfortable. The woman told her, "Don't force yourself to do things that make you unhappy." The 2 bonded instantly. Suddenly her phone rang. She looked nervous and said she had to step out to deal with something, but it was only her food delivery. They grabbed the fried chicken and dug in. The other woman panicked, but when she started drinking beer and she tried to warn her it was unhealthy, she said, "How can you eat fried chicken without beer? That would be an insult to the chicken." So the other woman joined her. The icy beer shocked her senses, in a good way, but when they went to see the babies afterward, the milk queen smelled the alcohol on them. Later, the woman took one sniff and immediately guessed it was her own baby's poop. A group of moms gathered around, praising how nice it smelled, which almost made the other woman gag. The milk queen questioned her, asking if she thought baby poop was dirty. The other woman quickly shook her head and denied it, explaining that she'd simply eaten too much earlier. Her strained expression made her burst out laughing. Later that evening, after the 2 had a few drinks to relax, the milk queen caught her drinking. She explained she only drank a little, but the milk queen accused her of being unfit to be a mother. The woman, who had been watching, couldn't stand it and joined the argument. The other woman hurried to smooth things over. Suddenly, everyone froze, as if they'd just heard something shocking, and crowded around. She said, "Whether she uses breast milk or formula, why are you all sticking your noses into her business? And besides, you moms who haven't slept all night, what good milk can you even produce?" The others were left speechless. Just then, the director came out and told her that she needed to make a choice: breastfeed or use formula. She hoped she would make a wise decision by tomorrow morning. The woman called her mother for advice. Her mother said that if breastfeeding would interfere with work, formula was fine. But her father insisted that breast milk was better. When her sister overheard, her colleagues also started discussing it. Unexpectedly, her co-workers in the car became so passionate about the debate that it caused a chain collision. One co-worker's husband, learning the crash was caused by an argument about formula, was speechless. Soon he got into an argument with a friend, which escalated into a fight. The video of the incident somehow reached social media and went viral. Even foreigners began arguing over the formula issue. The next day, everyone waited for her answer. Just as she was about to speak, someone burst in. Breast milk stored in the freezer had been maliciously spilled. The milk queen realized it was her milk and questioned the other woman, asking if she did it. She looked completely confused. The director said they would investigate and give a satisfying explanation. The crowd slowly dispersed, leaving the troubled woman behind. Suddenly, she sensed something was wrong. Behind the curtain, someone was hiding. When she approached, she was knocked out. She woke up in a strange room, where a 100 kilograms woman appeared. The woman recognized her as the milk thief hiding behind the curtain. She took out her phone to call the police, but the woman snatched it away and asked if she didn't recognize her. It turned out the woman was the national goddess. Seeing her still confused, she performed her signature move, and only then did she realize. How did the adorable baby turn into this monstrous being? This 100 kilograms overweight woman used to be a national goddess with a perfect figure before pregnancy, and she was also a top endorsement star in the entertainment industry. But once she became pregnant, she simply couldn't stop eating. She went from a devil figure beauty to this unrecognizable state. To avoid being secretly photographed by reporters waiting downstairs, she had no choice but to secretly move into a postpartum care center. She originally thought she would return to her old figure after giving birth, but instead her weight didn't go down. It went up to 100 kilograms. Because she didn't have enough breast milk, and her baby had been constipated for a week, she suspected it was caused by formula. Out of desperation, she came up with the idea of using other moms' milk. The woman felt sympathy and understanding when she heard this, and promised to keep it secret. That day, she received a call from her assistant asking her to return to the company to help with a business report, saying they couldn't handle it without her. Feeling that she was still needed, she was instantly thrilled. The next morning, she dressed up again like a domineering career woman. Before leaving, she proudly boasted to the moms that the company had a meeting that absolutely required her, saying she'd be back late, then walked away confidently. But when she arrived at the company, she discovered that she no longer had a workspace. Even the task her assistant asked her to help with had already been taken over by someone else. She stubbornly insisted that she was only there to help during her spare time, and that she still had a meeting with the chairman of a major group later. She forced a smile and left, thinking going straight back to the care center would look strange. She bought a hamburger and went to the park to slack off. Just as she was about to eat, she ran into her coworkers. They stared at her in shock. Thankfully, she quickly hinted that the old man beside her was actually the big boss. She pretended to chat with the old man, and her coworkers, thinking she was doing business even while on maternity leave, couldn't help but give her a thumbs up. But the old man suddenly stood up and said, "It's time! Everyone, gather here." She immediately stepped forward and acted like a stereotypical loud Chinese tourist, even taking a group photo with her hamburger. Her coworkers lowered their heads and left, trying to spare her embarrassment. Elsewhere, the other woman hadn't been able to reach her by phone, so she went to her room. On the way, she heard someone coming and hurriedly hid behind a screen, but accidentally triggered a switch. Because she was so overweight, she got stuck and screamed. Everyone tried to pull her out but couldn't. Fortunately, the quick-thinking director unplugged the machine, finally rescuing her. Once things calmed down, everyone recognized that she was the national goddess. But no one mocked her. After all, why should women make things harder for other women? So they dressed her up to try to make her look less heavy, but they all failed. In the end, encouraged by the moms, she decided to bravely face reality. She would leave the postpartum center. Reporters blocked the entrance, but she got out of the car graciously and greeted them, confidently answering their questions before walking away with poise. The next day, she received a video call from her, and she said she wanted to apologize. All this time, she had been secretly using her breast milk because she produced the most and it was less likely to be noticed. This left the woman shocked. She had always gotten the least milk when she pumped. Why was she saying she had the most? Someone had been taking her milk and replacing it with a bottle that was almost full. Later, the woman was trying to soothe her crying baby, but the mom next door rushed over, picked the child up, and calmed the baby down. Anyone who didn't know better would think she was the baby's real mother. When she learned that she still hadn't chosen a name for her child, she shared a name idea, Genshu, meaning the baby would grow up healthy, sunny, and cheerful. The woman wondered why she didn't use such a good name herself, but the other woman's mom explained that in her family, names must follow certain generational rules, so she couldn't use it. She accepted the suggestion. But later that night, while discussing with her husband, they ultimately decided on a different name, Lewin. She had no idea that the other woman's mom had prepared a gift for the baby, with the name embroidered on the sleeve of the clothing. When she came the next day with the gift and saw that the baby's name wasn't Genshu, she froze. Learning that she had changed the name on her own made her instantly furious. It turns out the other woman's mom was also a pitiful person. Her daughter was her third pregnancy. Her first child had to be terminated early because of health problems. She then began trying IVF. Despite the painful process, she never gave up. But fate was cruel. Her body, prone to miscarriages, lost the second baby as well. Her husband urged her to stop trying, but she refused. Eventually, she became pregnant again and safely entered the stable period. She quit her job and stayed home cautiously, preparing every day for the baby's arrival. She even chose a sweet nickname, Jiaobao, in advance. But misfortune struck again. At 7 months, she delivered prematurely. Even though she and her husband held onto a last shred of hope, the baby didn't survive upon birth. She didn't even get to hear her child cry before saying goodbye forever. Her husband sent her to a postpartum recovery center to help her heal. Losing 3 children in a row nearly broke her. She cried every day. Then one day, she heard someone outside calling, "Jiaobao's mom." Curious, she went out and unexpectedly saw a baby with the same nickname as the one she had given her own child. Since the woman was an older mother, she was often clumsy while caring for her baby, frequently making the child cry. This made the other woman's mom worry that the baby wasn't getting enough milk and wasn't properly nourished. so she secretly swapped her own breast milk with hers. This explained why she had previously said that she seemed to produce so much milk, because it wasn't hers. Now that she had changed the baby's name without asking, the other woman's mom finally snapped. Watching videos of the woman's baby on her phone, she wrote something down on a piece of paper, her eyes filled with shame and resentment. The next day, she brought a gift to apologize. But when she looked at the writing on the card, she fell into deep thought. She had once received an anonymous gift, and the handwriting was exactly the same. Seeing how overly affectionate she was with her baby, she finally realized how frightening the situation was. Having been exposed, the other woman's mom stopped pretending. She asked her whether she didn't find it unfair, that she had a healthy, beautiful baby yet didn't treasure him, always fumbling and upsetting him, making her unable to watch. Since that was the case, she said the woman should just give the baby to her. She didn't dare make any rash moves. The director and the other woman's father came over after hearing the commotion. Seeing what was happening, the director tried to calm her down and reached to take the baby, but she refused. Later, a woman's clothes were soaked by leaking breast milk, and her unsuspecting husband still wanted her to pose for reporters' photos. She had no choice but to strike various poses, feeling extremely embarrassed. Seeing that the front of her chest was soaked, she panicked. Just then, the reporters happened to need a photo of the couple clinking glasses, so she deliberately poured red wine onto her own chest. Although it made her look messy, she managed to leave and change clothes smoothly. She used to be a popular parenting blogger with millions of followers, simply posting updates about her twin sons and earned millions of likes. After giving birth to her third child, she came to a top-tier postpartum care center for recovery. Thanks to her incredible milk supply and rich parenting experience, she quickly gained the support of many loyal mom fans and became the queen of motherly love at the center. However, beneath her glamorous appearance, she had a bitter side. During the 3 years of caring for her children, she gave up all social interactions for the sake of the family. Now, she didn't have a single friend she could call to hang out with. When she heard the sound of her kids returning from school, her first instinct was to hide and let the nanny face their chaos alone. She had been traumatized by the destructive power of the twins. One day, she received a desperate call from the nanny. The nanny had been tormented by the kids until she was unrecognizable and refused to continue no matter how much money she was offered. Before she could finish speaking, a scream was heard. Her husband, busy with social engagements, had no choice but to bring the children to the postpartum center, blaming her for hiring such a nanny who quit without warning. He said he had work and no time to take care of the kids, and drove off before she could explain. The woman warned the children not to cause trouble, but the two little terrors didn't listen and dashed inside wildly. She chased after them, trying to maintain a graceful appearance while cleaning up their messes behind them. They even ran into the director's office. Suddenly, they stopped and backed away. It turned out to be the pitiful woman. She used to be a kindergarten teacher. At that moment, she received a call to go breastfeed, and the pitiful woman volunteered to look after the twins. After the director's previous persuasion, she had let go of her obsession with the other woman's child and sadly accepted reality. But moments later, she was on the floor searching for her glasses while the twins had disappeared. When they went out to look, they found toy parts near her room. Knocking on the door, they discovered the twins inside, miraculously sitting and reading obediently. She had them completely under control. With just one command from her, the boys returned to her side quietly. Soon it was time for this group of moms to leave the center. To improve their childcare skills, the director prepared a knowledge workshop to teach them how to handle common emergencies. While learning CPR, the woman accidentally punctured the baby mannequin's chest. Then Han's mother went even further. She knocked its entire head off, leaving her scared of even looking at real babies. The caregiver comforted her, saying that compared to how flustered she was when she first arrived, she was now already a competent mom. Encouraged, she decided to return to work after a year away from her baby. But when she arrived at the company, before she could say anything, her boss assigned her an important project. The project she had worked on before maternity leave had received great feedback, and her calm confidence had won the client's trust. They wanted her to take on an even bigger project. Knowing the opportunity was rare, she impulsively accepted, but didn't know how to explain it to her husband. Unexpectedly, he fully supported her and even offered to reduce his own workload to take care of the child. Although the moms had left the recovery center, they created a group chat to share parenting tips and help each other with problems. Only then did they realize that the center had truly been a paradise for mothers.